Hey everyone, Nimblebear here, and welcome to the video where I will show you how to make a fully customizable ranged weapon. So let's get started. Now, to get started, you will need access to your maker pen. To do so, you have to go to your watch, go to backpack, and press use on the maker pen to bring it up. Or you can favorite it to grab it from your back. Now that you have your maker pen out, you have to look at the top of it. There you go. And you will see a bunch of buttons in here. Those are basically tools that are used to make anything in Wraparound. Now go to your palette and under circuit gadgets in circuits, go a little bit further and you will find a projectile launcher. Click it and it will automatically appear right in front of your maker pen. Press the trigger to spawn it in and there you go. This is basically our gun itself. Now do note that this is the part where it will emit the projectile. So if you want to make a gun, you have to make sure that it is pointing the direction you want it to shoot at. Now the next thing we're going to need is the trigger. So you have to go to circuit gadgets again, just a little bit over there, somewhere at the end, you will find the trigger handle. Now as soon as you spawn it in and basically, deselect it, it will drop. Unlike the projectile emitter. The reason for that is because this will be the anchor for your weapon, and when you grab it without the maker pen in your hand, basically this will happen. Now when making a weapon, you probably don't want this clicking sound to appear whenever you're pressing the trigger, when holding the handle. So to get rid of it, go to your maker pen again, press configure and select the handle itself, not the thing over here. Now go back to your maker pen and here you will see the trigger handle configurations and it says play SFX on pressed. So you have to turn it off to make it completely silent. Now to make our lives easier while working with the customizable gun, we have to detach the plates, the configuration plates, apart from the gadgets themselves. And now to do that, you have to go to configuration, configure any thing that you want to configure first, and somewhere here you can find a Wraparound object detached from Wraparound object. Now when you turn it on and try to move just like that the plate will stay where it is, but when you grab the trigger it will be detached from the plate. Now let's do the same thing with the projectile launcher. Go back to your maker pen, configure, select the launcher itself, go to the settings, and now somewhere down here, after all those things, you can see the object board. Configure, open it, go a little bit down, then you can see detached from Wraparound object. Make sure it's on. There you go. Now that we have our plates detached from our gadgets, we can start configuring them. Now, depending on what weapon you want, you can choose what projectiles the projectile launcher can shoot. So the basic type is laser with the white color, but you can also use the cork or paintball ball, basically. Now, if you don't want to have the same sound that the projectiles come with whenever they're shot out of the projectile launcher, you can go a little bit down in the same configuration folder, basically. And here you can see a sound enabled button. So you have to disable it to make every projectile basically completely silent. And now you can add your own sound effects, which is pretty cool. And I'll show you how later. Now let's say I want the laser, right, as the projectile type with the very nice, let's say, green color. Green. I like green. Now let's go through these four. I believe it's four. Yep. 4 configurations over here. Now let's go first over count, and for that I think I will have to connect my trigger handle to the projectile launcher, and to do so I'll have to go back to tools and in the maker pen press wire and connect the primary action pressed to fire forward. And now as you can see, whenever I press the trigger it will shoot out the projectile. Now going back to our projectile launcher, press configure, point at the projectile launcher itself, and there you go. So count. It's basically how many projectiles will shoot out of the projectile launcher. If I'll say 5, for example, and maximum is 16, by the way. If I'll set it to 5 and press the trigger, it will shoot out 5 projectiles. Now, the reason you don't see that is because there is no spread in those projectiles. And now to add spread, you have to go to the bottom, and there you go, there's some spread. For now it's 0, so it's gonna be 100% accurate all the time. And if I add just a little bit of spread, for example 5, and start shooting, you can see that there are now 5 projectiles. Do note that spread is always random for each projectile that is being shot out of the projectile launcher. In this case, 5 is the size of the spreading diameter. You can actually go really crazy with it and just, for example, go to like 35 or something, right? And then put the count all the way to 16 and start shooting. You'll basically get this cascade of projectile madness. Now let's not get too crazy and let's go back to 1. And spread, I think I'll have it like 3 or 2. Now the next two are the speed right here and lifetime. Now the speed is, well, obviously how fast the projectile will travel. And in this case it is meter per second. How many meters it will travel per second. Let's say just a crazy number of 400 meters per second, and it will just go lightning fast. And if we will put it to like 1, the projectile will be very slow. It'll be so slow that it won't even have enough lifetime to travel further enough. And that's where lifetime comes in. Now lifetime is basically how many seconds the projectile will be alive until it disappears. Now, the maximum amount of seconds there can be is 5, and the minimum is 0.1, which is, well, a tenth of a second. Now, let's go all the way to 5 and start shooting with the slowest projectile ever and see if it travels further. It indeed does. I like to keep the projectiles with the 4-second lifetime because, well, you usually don't really mess with those things. Now, and for the speed, I think I'll just go to 50. Yeah, 50 is cool. Yeah, I like 50. Or maybe a little bit more. Let's go for 100. And by the way, if you want to have a specific number and not this, like, whatever this is, you can just type any number just like so and press X and it will appear over here. I think I will stick to 100. Now here comes the fun part, the gravity. So when you turn that on and start shooting, your projectiles will basically have this curve at the end, making them fall down. Basically, this configuration works very well with the paintball projectiles, but not with laser projectiles because, well, as you can see, it's very funny looking. You can add some damage to the head, to the torso, to the hand. You can enable or de-enable the sound. You can add the color to the projectiles, which is very weird because you already did that over here. Don't know why. So yeah, and I'm sorry, I messed up a little bit. So in the projectile launcher configuration, the color part is basically not the color of the projectile, but the color of the whole thing. I like to keep it to default because, well, nobody's gonna see the projectile launcher anyway. But it is maybe useful for you when you're sorting your guns by color. So you don't really need to mess with any other part of the projectile launcher configuration panel. So now let's move to the trigger handle. Now do the same thing that we did with the projectile launcher. You just take configure and press the trigger handle. Now as soon as you do it, you'll be presented with this. It is basically the same thing that we did with the projectile launcher, but instead of that, the trigger handle has only one configuration, which is play SFX on pressed. Well, you can also change the color of it. Let's do it yellow, for example. There you go. Now this is all the information you need about the basics of the trigger handle and the projectile launcher. Now let's connect them together. Nimblebear, what do you mean by connecting them together? We already connected them. Well, you want to point your gun at something, right? And shoot it over there. So for that, we will have to connect not only the plates to each other, but the handle and the projectile launcher. And to do so, we'll need what's called a gizmo. So let's go back to our palette. And somewhere in CV1 Legacy, CV basically stands for Circuits Version something, if you didn't know that. And now under Gadgets, Gizmos, there we go, there's Gizmos. You can find many gizmos. We are not going to use the animation gizmo, though it's good for instant respawning things, but I think it's for another video. We can use any of these over here, because we aren't gonna like connect them to anything else. I'm usually going for clamp, so let's go for that, just to be safe. Now that we have our clamp out, we will have to connect it between the handle and the launcher. And to do that, we go back to our tools and press wire. Now make sure, because this is a very important step, make sure that the top part of the clamp is connected to the projectile launcher like so, and the bottom, or the base, is connected to the trigger handle. And now as soon as you release it, it should fall over. It's because all the weight is now on these two thingies. Now I added this small platform to see what's happening here. Now basically our gun is ready. We can do whatever we want with it. We got the base ready and we can shoot anywhere. Now do note that you can put this projectile launcher anywhere in your gun, and the projectile will shoot out of it. And that means that if you don't align it with your trigger handle, or you make it as close as possible, it doesn't matter, the projectile will always shoot exactly from this spot over here. Now do note one more thing. Whenever you're grabbing the trigger handle and try to shoot, you will realize that you can't just hold it and shoot projectiles multiple times. For that you will have to click your trigger multiple times. Now to make the projectile launcher do a continuous firing mechanism, we will have to do something with these two plates. But the problem is we can't. For that we'll need another plate or another chip, which is called the delay chip. Now to find the delay chip, we will have to go back to our palette and to circuit. And now we can't just, go down and look for it, because it will take forever. And for that, we will have to go to search and press circuits. Now under circuits, we can type delay. We got the delay chip, and we can spawn it in by clicking it. There you go. Now we don't need to configure anything or anything like that. We just need to wire them together. And to do so, we go back to tools, we press wire, and the first step we will do is take the primary action pressed to run, and then after delay, back to run. Now the second step is to make the actual firing mechanism. So we take run and connect it to fire forward. Now at this point, whenever you press the button once or the trigger once, the projectile launcher will continuously fire just without any other input. And in case you don't want to fire anymore, we have to go back to primary action released and press and connect it to cancel. And that way the delay will be cancelled and there will be no other projectiles launched from the projectile launcher. Now it's all ready, so let's test this thing out. There you go. Now I think we can start adding some custom sound effects. And now there are two ways to do that. Now the first one, which is very easy, you can go back to the palette, go to circuits, and under gadgets, if you scroll a little bit further, you can find the SFX gadget. Now spawn it in, and there you go. Now the direction which it is pointing at, it doesn't really matter. You can just basically point it anywhere you want, and there's only one configuration that you have to do. Now speaking of configurations, go back to your tools, press configure, and select the set gadget. Now you will be welcomed with this menu over here, and under SFX you can use the 3D audio. What that means is whenever the audio is played, it will be played only from this exact point over here. If it will be a 2D audio, which is basically the 3D audio being turned off, it means that anyone can hear that exact audio from anywhere in the room, and basically inside their heads. Now I would like it to make the audio from this exact point, so I would like to turn it on. Now the sounds, yes, the sounds. Now there is a whole catalog of different sounds that you can use, starting from the adequate, yep, adequate, all the way to I don't know, score and whoosh and zipper. Just there are so many sounds. Now I think since I have the laser installed, I think I will use the shield bit. Yeah, it sounds nice. Now I'm sorry, there's one more thing I forgot to mention about the delay chip. So Of course, in the delay chip, you can change the delay between each shot that is being shot out of the projectile launcher. Now, and to do so, to change the delay, you can go back to configure in tools and configuring this very small knob over here, and it will bring up the value menu. In this menu, you can basically set any number in seconds. So yeah, this will be in seconds. So let's say just 3 seconds, right? And press X and it will update. And now whenever we take the gun and try to shoot, 1, 2, 3, there you go. 3, 1, 2, 3, there you go. 1, 2, 3, and it will shoot again. So you basically get the whole picture, right? Now I think I would like to keep it at around 0.5 or something. So it's like half a second. Maybe a little bit smaller. I want to make it a very rapid firing. 0.1, how about that? Yeah, there you go. 0.1. Very nice. Now do note that this thing might happen when you're messing with the delay. So yeah, by the way, I'm not holding the trigger right now. To stop it, you just have to press the trigger multiple times until it stops. I don't know, I think I will keep it at 0 for the point of this video. Now, to actually play the sound and to connect it also to the trigger handle and the projectile launcher as part of the gun, you will have to go back to wire. Do note that using the 3D audio, again, will emit the sound only from that specific area. So if you want to emit sound somewhere at the end of the gun, you should just move it there. Easy as that. There you go. So here comes the important part. Whenever you want to connect something to the gun, you'll have to connect it to this yellow part over here of the gizmo, because the base part is connected to the trigger handle, which is basically the anchor. Now let's go back to wire and connect this thing or to the yellow thing. Now we're not done yet because the audio doesn't play anything whenever we press the button. Now the problem we have right now with the SFX gadget is that it will first play the sound completely until it will have to replay the sound again. Now to get rid of that and to make the sound play continuously, we will have to configure it again, and yeah, again, it's over here. Press it on the gadget, and so we're down here. Oops, sorry. We'll find interrupt current sound. We'll have to switch it to on. And what that means is whenever it will receive an input, it will restart the sound, which is a very good thing. One more thing before we connect it to the delay chip or the projectile launcher chip or whatever. So the magic happens over here in this side, not over here. Here we are only connecting them together, right? And here is all the magic happening. So to make the continuous firing noise, we will have to disconnect the run from fire forward, and then take the same run, connect it to play, the play input, note that, and then go to play output, and then connect it to fire forward. Now, if we did everything correctly, we can test it out, and it should continuously make a firing sound. Maybe I will change the sound later, but I'm not sure. It's quite fun. Now, the second option of adding the effects to your new custom gun is by adding the audio player. And to do so, go to your palette, go to circuits, and somewhere in circuit gadgets, somewhere at the beginning, I believe, there will be the audio player. There you go. Now, I don't really know how to use it, but I will probably make a video about how to use it later when I dive deeper into this. But the main few things are that when connecting, you just connect these two play buttons the same way that we connected the SFX chip together. And now when configuring, you do the same thing that we did somewhere down here with the effects. You have to use the 3D audio and interrupt current sound. Don't set it to loop, because as soon as it will receive an input, it will start looping the sound regardless of whether you have an input on your trigger handle or not. So yeah, if you want a tutorial on audio player, let me know down in the comments and stay tuned for that. I just want to point out that the main thing about the audio player is that you have to make any type of sound through your mouth, or basically through a microphone, or you can just program edit however you want. I will show you that maybe in the next video. Again, just let me know. Now, I think that we have basically everything ready for us. Maybe there is like one more thing that you can add to it, like cloning, for example, the SFX gadget over here, connecting it to the yellow part of the gizmo and moving it over close to the handle. The reason I'm doing that is because we can set any type of audio whenever you, for example, grab the trigger handle. And for that, you will have to connect the input play to the on pickup, right? And that's pretty much it. Now let's set the audio. This also sounds very nice. I think this is good. Now whenever we pick up the trigger handle, you can hear the sound. There you go. Now you don't want to just, have a plain trigger handle over here to basically make the whole weapon. And for that, I can recommend you making your own weapon. Yes, that's right. If you are a builder and you can create stuff just like me, you can make your own weapon. Those are basically the gadgets that you will need to prepare the body for your own custom weapon. Now I will use the weapon that I've made a while back. And guess what? You can also get that exact weapon in the invention store, and I will put the name right here. So just type it in the invention store and you'll find my weapon. So I will use some of the move and rotation tools over here to kind of just place my trigger handle wherever I want. Again, you can use like the arrows in the move tool and these little squares over here to do the platform kind of moving. And now the last step is freezing it in place while it is selected. So it will just hover above the ground, just like that. And you can't grab it, by the way. Now the moment we've all been waiting for, weaponizing the actual weapon. And to do so, I'll use this thing. Again, this is the weapon you can find in the invention store. When you're making your own weapon, make sure that when it's complete, the physics mode is set to decoration. It is a very important step. Now I maybe want to move the weapons like skeleton or the base somewhere in the places that I'd like it to be at. For example, the pickup effect will be over here, then the projectile launcher will be somewhere over here, and the effects I used to make the firing sound I will put somewhere close to the projectile launcher. Don't worry if they cross anyhow, nothing will really happen to them. And yeah, that is basically it. Now the final step that I would like to do is disconnecting the base from the handle and connecting the yellow part of the gizmo to the gun. Now you don't really want the trigger handle to be seen while holding the weapon, right? And in order to hide it, you again unfreeze, then you just rotate it somewhere like that so that it will be aligned with the handle of your weapon. Use the move tool to move it somewhere in the middle. Also make sure that your snapping is as low as possible when trying to go for these like precise movements. Now the last thing I think I'll do is scaling. Now when scaling, I don't use any of these like green, blue or red squares over here. I use the square in the center, because this is a gadget, not a object that we created from the maker pen. And put it somewhere over here. Yes, this is nice. Now that the handle is completely hidden, we can freeze it again, make sure it's frozen inside, and wire it back to the base of the gizmo. Now everything should be completed. Now if we unfreeze the trigger handle, it will fall to the ground, just like so. And again, remember, this is the anchor and all the weight is now somewhere around this weapon. Now we can grab this, followed by the sound effect, and we can start shooting, which is very fun. Yeah, this sometimes happens. When you shoot into the distance and there are too many projectiles flying into the distance, it won't allow you to shoot until they all disappear. Now do also note that there's this thing as space in your rooms. So if you make something crazy like my gun right here and try to turn it into a weapon, it will actually start lagging like crazy, or maybe to the point of even crashing your game. And also, as you saw there, just completely disabling your shots, and you can shoot until you re-grab it or something. Now I've changed the weapon a little bit, and now if we try shooting it, again, you can go as crazy as you want with this thing, but make sure you don't go too crazy because it will take a bunch of memory in the game, and that is not good. Now, this is how you can create your own custom weapon right here. I hope that this video helped you a lot with making your own custom weapon. And, well, if you have any concerns or any questions, please let me know down in the comments below, right there. And lastly, I want to thank you all very much for watching. My name is William, and I'll see you later.